Good afternoon. Back once again. A little brief intermissions here and come into session now for the 3 o'clock portion of the March 1st board meeting. So things are moving pretty quickly here today. So Flo, if once again you'll do the drill and call the roll, please.
Okay, Supervisor Cerna.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Peters.
Here.
Frost.
Here.
Natoli.
Here.
Then you have a quorum.
All righty.
Okay, for item number 4, this is the Silvera project. It's a rezone tentative subdivision map, abandonment of easement, and design review for a property located at 7775 Carmencita Avenue in the Vineyard community. The environmental document is a mitigated negative declaration.
And could I have item 5 written also? Because we're going to flow right into that one as well.
Item 5, discussion about practice of recommending covenants, conditions, and restrictions to be prepared for subdivisions.
Okay.
Thank you
Leanne,
very
you're
much.
back.
All right.
It's the Leanne Moffat show today.
I do have a PowerPoint for item number 4, Silvera. Sorry. So this project is located at 7775 Carmencita Avenue in the Vineyard community at the westerly end of Piping Rock Drive. The request here is for a rezone, tentative subdivision map, design review, and abandonment of an easement. Here's an aerial of the site, which is substantially vacant. The rezone is a request for 14.3 acres to go from AR10, which is 1 unit per 10 acres, to RD5, 5 units per acre. It is consistent with the already adopted Vineyard plan, including the general plan low density residential and the Vineyard Springs comprehensive plan, which has a density range between 4 and 6 units per acre. Originally, this project was part of a larger project called the Reserve at Wild Hawk that had been being processed back in the when the economy was stronger. It was a victim of the recession. It had made it all the way through to the Planning Commission in 2008, but because of the downturn in the economy, it ended up being withdrawn before it made it all the way to the board for approval. And it is shown, the project site is at the lower left portion of the map there. So it's just a piece of what was this larger overall scheme for the area. The applicant is now moving forward with this piece. However, it will create 72 single-family lots, 4 landscape lots. It will abandon a portion of a road easement along the western boundary. It will deal with the westerly extension of Piping Rock Drive, and it links adjacent properties and to a park to the north. The key points is that development is with single-family detached homes is consistent with the general plan and the adopted community plan. It's the same number of lots as was being contemplated and approved by the Planning Commission in 2008. An extension of Piping Rock Drive is required for access, and it does provide vehicular and pedestrian links to surrounding properties and the park to the north. So with that, staff is recommending approval of all the entitlements. The Vineyard Community Planning Advisory Council considered this on June 2nd of 2015 and recommended approval on a 3-0 vote. There was no public testimony and no issues raised there. And then the Planning Commission met on January 23rd, 2017 and is recommending approval on a 4-0 vote. Again, there was no public testimony. No one attended from the public. There was a discussion about a standard condition that planning has been...
Yeah, excuse me.
Yes.
I think Supervisor Peters had a question.
June of 2015
Yes.
at CPAC and January 2017.
The applicant was not in a hurry, and so it,
Well, I guess.
it didn't move forward because they just had some
That's not
outstanding information.
That's not a county slowdown.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Sometimes folks just aren't in a hurry to build, so.
Just checking.
Yeah. There was a discussion at the Planning Commission, and it is a topic that has come up here at the board, having to do with a somewhat recent practice in the last few years by staff of requiring CC&Rs to be prepared for some of these maps. And so the Planning Commission is recommending, and has recommended in the version that's in front of you, has that condition removed from it. Because the board had raised this on occasion, including particularly Supervisor Kennedy, we also did prepare another board report, and that was the item that I had Flo move in. So I don't know if you want to take Silvera first and then talk about that, or you want to talk about it all at once. So I would defer to the chair to sort of decide.
Wait, it's fine. You called both items, and certainly Supervisor Kennedy, any comments on this project? I'm certainly familiar with it. It was in District 5 when it started out, and it's in District 2 now that's coming to us with this map, but we can certainly have an explanation behind the CCNRs and then open it up. Did you want to weigh in right now? Or? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. I do have just one or two more slides.
Sure.
Moving into the overall global issue of CCNRs, so no significant issues on the Silvera map itself. So several years ago, staff did begin recommending a condition to record CCNRs on certain types of projects. We are prepared today to discontinue this practice. This is not something that's in any ordinance. It's not in the zoning code. It's not written anywhere. It's simply a practice, so we don't have to amend anything. We would want to require CCNRs when there are private roads or open space or a homeowners association where there's something that needs to be maintained and controlled by that CCNR, through the CCNRs and by an HOA. This is an excerpt of that Condition 11, which is pretty close to what we've typically been approving. And so the kind of things that we've been asking for they're really things that require the homeowners to maintain safe and habitable properties, to secure their animals, to secure and maintain their pools, to maintain fences. This one was specifically about Piping Rock Drive, but generically we would shape it to the project. Avoid view obstructions, deal with noise from pets, store your garbage cans. You can't convert your garages to residential areas, those kinds of things, so that via the CCNR, there's a civil way for within a neighborhood for folks to try to maintain some of that. These would be things that typically we would deal with through zoning code enforcement or other nuisance abatement processes.
Question for you, Leanne, and again, I know the question got raised obviously as to why we do this, but for some of us over the years, there's been some frustration, not just with certain issues and developments, but also I think the inability in times of difficult budgets and so forth to maybe be as proactive with code enforcement or garage conversions in some of the older neighborhoods that certainly permitted under zoning code, but they're expressly prohibited by CCNRs and enforceable, then it may maintain a different tenor relative to single-family homes. Some of the issues we've seen, and I'll just speak to areas that I represent, where garage conversions, whether done with permits or not, have ended up where we've got homes that even with permits sometimes carved up and become boarding houses or something akin to that. I mean, we talked about how to define them, but and I understand that this wouldn't be enforceable by the county, but I think it does put a structure in for HOA, and I think we've seen very successful communities with HOAs and others that don't have HOAs. But once the developers are out of the picture, it's up to the neighborhood and or the county, their government, or other entities that have responsibility for parks or schools, libraries, and so forth to see to it that those things are maintained and that there's compatibility. I guess my question to you, and again, it was under previous administration, I understand that, but this didn't just pop up overnight and somebody decided this was a good thing to do. There was some discussion, I think, taken from either with board members and or from board hearings, even pre-recession. We got into this with some of the tighter densities and so forth, and the need to have not so much conformity but to have measures that would provide for maintenance, and sometimes common areas where they're, to your point here, that this doesn't have those common areas. Either Southgate's going to have them, or they're going to be in the road rights of way and so forth. But I guess the question I want to get to is, was there any review done about how communities over time, those with CCNRs and maybe those without, and how they're enforced? Obviously, there's examples right in this community, but any evidence that when you have this kind of other layer of kind of self-governance, ability to enforce, I guess, in the event that they have a strong association and want to civilly enforce some of these things beyond what the county would do, that makes for better maintained, long-term, better outcomes in neighborhoods?
Regretfully, I have not had staff do an extensive analysis of communities that typically require CZNRs versus areas that don't. Here in the county, it's only been the last maybe 3 years at the most where we've applied this, so I don't think that we have enough of a track record with the handful of subdivisions, whether they've even been built yet or not, to know how the application of CCNRs has actually worked. Probably those communities, if they're even built by now, are new enough that presumably no one's using the CCNRs in the civil action to tackle these things.
But master plan communities a lot of times have these as part of a bigger, you can look at them in Southern California, Central California.
Right.
Even here we have them in our communities where, again, it doesn't guarantee you're not going to have issues and doesn't say you're going to have a strong association. But the county's kind of taken this view of both suburban and greenfield development over time that, if you have CCNRs, more power to you, but we don't enforce them, and if you can't get along, you can't figure it out, then that's up to you homeowners. But we really haven't had some consistent themes in those, and I think those were some of the discussions, and it's not that the Silvera application is the test case on this. But the issue was obviously raised, and I think properly so by members of the board as to why would we do this? Why do we put this other layer? But again, it's not to have more rules and regulations. On the other hand, some of these things can become problematic, and I think there's and the county may have measures that we can take, assuming we have resources to do that, to address them. This doesn't guarantee they won't become a problem, even if you have CCNRs. But I think there's some pretty good examples of communities that have CCNRs and that consistency. That you basically have a stronger neighborhood network, and you also, I think, have the long-term, at least one more assurance that those things are going to be adhered to. So I think
staff would, as a practice, still intend to recommend a CCNR condition on possibly very small lot, single family, areas where you have common areas. So we're not asking for direction. I think we pretty clearly state that there would be circumstances where staff would still request a CCNR condition. It's just on the typical RD5 subdivision when there's no HOA, no common area, should we require it of everybody? That's sort of the question at hand.
Okay. Supervisor Kennedy.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I actually, my philosophical problem has always been imposing something on an applicant that we have absolutely no way or intention of enforcing. And we've had this discussion a lot. I find that what you're proposing here is a good compromise, if you will. And I see your intention. I still have the same questions about enforceability, but I appreciate the work that you've put into this.
Okay. Other members want to weigh in on this at all? Any thoughts about it? It'll be up to us to decide whether we delete it or include it. And I think the direction that'll come out of here today is, if we delete it or include it, that'll be, that's what direction you're looking for.
An indication of the thought of process of the board, right? And obviously every applicant has the opportunity to raise it were we to recommend it in the context of their hearing.
Yeah. One other point I would just point out, and again, I think certainly the enforceability to Supervisor Kennedy's point, that's clear. That's a big question mark. But one of the discussions over the years that we've had is that with some of the newer communities, more affordable product, not just high density, but more affordable, that in a particularly good market that where people moving up, that you end up, some of those entry-level communities that have, nice houses and so forth, but they turn more into rentals, and that the attention of, some of the homeowners, or at least the property owners, becomes less focused because they may not even live there anymore. They rent the property, and that by having CCNRs, at least you kind of bind them together whether they live there or not. Again, there's certainly no surefire assurance of that in any way, but I point that out because I know that was one of the conversations we had this board and a couple of different projects over time as to how do you assure that. And again, it could be single-family product. I mean, obviously, the marketplace now is at entry-level housing. You're north of $250,000 probably at the minimum, and $300,000 or $400,000. But anyway, I offer that. So again, if there's no other comments, then we have both items 3 and.
I think what Patrick said, makes sense to me. It's a good compromise. And enforcing CC&Rs is just impossible.
Right. Well, the county would not enforce
Unless you have a strong
otherwise.
HOA.
Yeah, right.
Right, I was going to say, obviously, the county doesn't enforce CC&Rs, and if anyone's going to do it, it's an HOA, and if you don't have an HOA in there, they're probably not going to get enforced anyway. So requiring them is maybe not very useful on a subdivision without.
I can see a difference if it's a subdivision where there's an HOA and they mow the lawns and they do certain things, and giving the ability to follow up on that. But other than that, I'm with you, Patrick.
All right. Any other comments? If not, then
Are we taking
Walters?
these separately, or?
I don't know. Did you want to? We'll take them separately.
Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Walters, do you want to address this on behalf of the applicant?
If you don't mind.
Sure. And then we'll get motion started.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Bruce Walters, Walters Land Planning, representing the property owner on the Silvera application. Just to be clear, I did have some email correspondence with some board members where I indicated didn't have any problem with the project, and I neglected to mention that this is the one exception.
I was wondering, because I was reading your email again today, and I thought, well, he's in problem with the conditions, so I wonder if that's number 11 or not. So, okay.
But yes, we do have concerns about the CC&R condition. I think Leanne's covered it quite well. Just trying to envision how, if implemented, this would work out on a subdivision with no common maintained properties. You'd essentially end up with a weak HOA, which would be questionable in terms of function, operation, practicality, et cetera. And possibly worse would be a HOA that doesn't act at all, which would then almost render what I would call a property owner implemented CC&R enforcement, which I think could possibly be an even worse situation in the particular neighborhood. Not that a lot of these measures are understandable, and there are some cases certainly where these issues have arisen, but just don't see a real practical solution for this via CC&Rs with this type of project, small, single-family detached, no commonly maintained areas. So we would ask that condition 11 be deleted.
Okay. Thanks,
Thank you.
Mr. Kennedy.
So your problem is with the condition 11 as modified, providing each homeowner with disclosure statement requiring their acknowledgement, blah, blah, et cetera? You're saying you want that stricken?
Well, I mean, basically the condition itself.
That's what I'm saying. That's the
yeah.
condition you want stricken.
Yes.
Because, and I'll tell you, I mean, when I read that, frankly, I liked it because, and coincidentally, about an ongoing issue on a property that's about less than a quarter of a mile from this particular site. This is actually directly applicable, in which we have neighbors complaining about, up in arms because there's roosters on property that are adequately zoned to have roosters and so forth. This to me is a protection for all sides and also a hold harmless for the county.
Yeah, in terms of the notification of property owners for adjacent agricultural use, right to farm, if you will, certainly no opposition to that provision. I thought that had been included as a separate condition and covered there. We have no opposition to that.
Yeah, the one that Supervisor Kennedy is referring to is 11. This is a different one. This is the homeowner notification and disclosure relative to agricultural uses.
The version that's in the record in front of you already has the CC&R item removed
Right.
as recommended by
Understood.
the Planning Commission, yes. So
Okay, so
Addition 11
you
is
was
a
the prior
replacement
number
one
11.
about the ag.
You support keeping out the one that the commission took out.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Good clarification, though, because the 11 here is a different one. That one's already been substituted. That one's
Right.
the version. We'd have to actually.
I'm sorry,
That's
former
that's right.
number 11.
No problem. Okay, got it.
Right, just continue, okay.
Okay. All right. If no other questions, then, Mr. Kennedy?
Yes, I'd like to move for staff recommendation approval of the project and all of the other entitlements and so forth.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. This is on item 4. Please vote.
Unanimous vote.
And then you want some separate, separate action. Mr. Gill said it'd be a good idea on the item 5, which would reflect the action we just took. Discontinue the practice of requiring CCNRs.
That's not just discussion, that's number 5, that's an action item?
Yeah.
It's an action item.
I mean, I think we have clear direction, so.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Oh, okay. Well, I was looking at a recommendation here.
Take
Was
your,
it-
yeah. It's not anything you're adopting, it's not a policy, it's just sort of a general guidance to staff, so we'll take the discussion as general guidance.
Okay, so you don't need an action? I mean, that's not how it's reflected here, though.
I think the way this is written is that we've made a recommendation to you. I think we would like to get.
We just voted on it. It would take less time than talking about it.
Yeah.
Move it. Second.
Okay, moving second to approve the recommendation on item 5, which is to discontinue practice of requiring CCNRs on subdivision maps in the absence of a homeowners association or other specific need for such CCNRs. So that qualifier is a very important one. All right. Anyone wish to address this? Seeing none, please vote.
Unanimous vote.
Okay. You don't need a recess for the next item. We're late.
Sorry to
That's right,
disappoint
we're
you.
late.
Item number 6, report back on implementation of the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act and funding resources to assist with activities in the subbasins.
Good afternoon. Michael Peterson, Water Resources. Carrie Schmitz, Chief of Water Supply, to do a presentation on the status of groundwater sustainability agency formation and SGMA compliance in the county subbasins.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Good afternoon, Carrie.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the board. My name is Carrie Schnitz. I'm with the Department of Water Resources, and I'm here today as a follow-up to our December presentation, where we provided an update on activities related to the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, or SGMA. In today's presentation, I'll provide an update on SGMA compliance. There we go. Provide an update on SGMA compliance in Sacramento County, as well as discuss unmanaged areas. In addition, I'll present information about potential funding sources for groundwater management activities and talk about what comes next. So as discussed in prior presentations, there are 4 subbasins within Sacramento County. The North American subbasin is north of the American River and extends into Sutter and Placer counties. The South American subbasin is south of the American River and north of the Cosumnes River. The Cosumnes subbasin is south of the Cosumnes River and extends into Amador County. And the Solano subbasin includes the delta portion of the county, and it includes also much of Solano County. I'd like to briefly go over SGMA compliance status in each of the subbasins. So in the North American subbasin, Sacramento Groundwater Authority is still the exclusive GSA over the Sacramento County portion of this basin. This has not changed since the December presentation. GSAs are in the process of being formed over the Placer and Sutter County portions of this basin, and these areas are on track to meet the June 30th, 2017 GSA formation deadline. In the South American subbasin, Sacramento Central Groundwater Authority, or SCGA, is the exclusive GSA over the majority of the subbasin, and this area is shown in the darker green. There are 2 overlap areas where multiple entities have applied to become GSAs, and these are shown in the striped areas on the map. Omo-Chimney-Hartnell Water District and the Slough House Resource Conservation District have both submitted overlapping GSA applications for those areas. There's also an unmanaged area There's a white area west of Interstate 5 shown on the map in this subbasin, and we'll discuss that in a later slide. The SCGA Board of Directors voted to submit an alternative submittal, or alternative, to the State Department of Water Resources to demonstrate that the South American subbasin, including the unmanaged area and the overlap areas, has been operated within its sustainable yield over the past 10 years. With a pending alternative submittal, the subbasin is not subject to probationary status, meaning as long as the alternative is being considered by state DWR, unmanaged and overlap areas will not be deemed probationary or be subject to extraction reporting. On January 18th, 2017, Slough House filed a lawsuit challenging SCGA's approval to submit the alternative to state DWR and its CEQA exemption. So in the Cosumnes subbasin, Slough House and Omochumni Hartnell are the exclusive GSAs over a large portion of the Cosumnes subbasin. The City of Galt, Galt Irrigation District, and Clay Water District are all in the process of becoming GSAs in this subbasin. Additionally, there is a large unmanaged area west of Galt. A portion of this subbasin extends into Amador County, and county staff are coordinating with Amador County groundwater interests through the water forum facilitated process. County staff are working with Solano County and Reclamation District representatives in the Solano subbasin. Currently, no agency has taken formal action to become a GSA in the county portion of this subbasin. County staff are coordinating with groundwater stakeholders in the subbasin and are participating in a stakeholder meeting as we speak. So I'm thinking this is the wrong presentation.
Well, it took off and did a lot of lines there, but
That appears to be the PowerPoint from the December report, which may still have been carried forward since this is a report back, so maybe they can bring up the current PowerPoint.
Okay. Get a little technical help from our Channel 14 crew.
These are 2 slides you're looking for?
No, those are the wrong slides. That's the one.
That's the one.
The one that
You want to use the one and use it on the overhead for now?
After graphics, hard copy, I just put it on the
Maybe give her another copy.
Sure,
so
I've got a copy up here.
camera too, but she may have notes on hers.
You can just put it on the overhead.
Yeah.
I found yours.
Just notes on her.
Okay, yeah, you don't want to see my notes. Okay, so we'll go with. Can everybody see that? So as mentioned in prior slides, there are areas in Sacramento County that are currently unmanaged. The following slides discuss the unmanaged area in each of the subbasins and will describe an action for your board's consideration. This map shows the 3 large unmanaged areas within Sacramento County, with a few smaller areas within the GSA boundaries that don't show up well on this map. We'll quickly go over the unmanaged areas and discuss interested stakeholders and the county's possible role in interim or long-term management. The Freshwater Trust, which is coordinating efforts of local reclamation districts in the Delta, has expressed interest in managing groundwater in the area identified as unmanaged area number 1 in the Solano subbasin. While representatives are not prepared at this time to submit to become a GSA, they would like to work with the county to avoid state intervention in this area and eventually take over groundwater management. The county will likely always have a role in management in this basin because there are areas within the subbasin that are not in any interested reclamation district's jurisdictional area.
When you say stakeholders, Carrie, again, there are, some multiples of that, but down in the Delta, because again, reclamation districts, and their focus obviously is, in a lot of cases, keeping lands dewatered. Certainly they rely on water, both surface and groundwater for, some, if not all, their needs in some cases. And I think a lot of people are surprised when you say that everybody's drinking water down there. It's all groundwater. Whether you're in the city of Alton or you're in Hood or Walnut Grove or out on a ranch or farm somewhere, the surface water, in many cases, is not even irrigation water. Some of them use wells. But how many stakeholders have you identified, potential stakeholders down there then? Do you just blanket that with all the RDs? And I guess I would just point out, too, that some of those RDs are largely state-controlled reclamation districts, particularly at Sherman and Twitchell. They're not, the landowner, majority landowner is the state. It's not, Joe Farmer.
The Freshwater Trust has been the most vocal, and Eric Ringelberg, who was here at the December presentation, he's been the spokesperson for the reclamation districts in this area. But I think your point is well taken, that perhaps the reclamation districts don't speak for everyone in that subbasin. So I'll take note of that.
No, again, I wasn't even highlighting that so much as I just think that there are multiples of folks down there, and I think reclamation are landowner, in large part, but with the kind of a couple of exceptions that I mentioned there. But to your other point, though, I think the county will continue to have some role in conversations about everything water as it relates to those portions of the county, that portion of the county anyway, just in light of other things that people are looking to do with and to the Delta. So,
absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. The next slide is the South American Subbasin, and you can see that there is an unmanaged area west of the SCGA boundary. There are some interested groundwater management entities or reclamation districts shown in yellow in this area. While these entities aren't prepared right now to become GSAs, to submit to become GSAs, they have expressed to county staff that they would like to work with us and have the county form a GSA in this area. The ultimate management structure can be defined in the future as the reclamation districts determine their preferred role. County staff will continue to work with folks in this area as well. In the Cosumnes Subbasin has a large area that is currently unmanaged west of Galt. County staff has been working through the water forum facilitation process to identify and reach out to stakeholders in this portion of the basin. We've had conversations with folks down there, and while many of them have expressed that they're not, they've expressed some reluctance to having the county involved in groundwater management in this area. Ultimately, the stakeholders that we've spoken to so far have agreed that county involvement with stakeholder participation would be better than state involvement. So we're going to continue our outreach efforts down there. In fact, we're working on setting up an outreach event for March 15th at Supervisor Natoli that you'll participate in.
Well.
So as discussed in prior presentations, the deadline for GSA formation is June 30th, 2017, and basins with unmanaged areas after this date are at risk for probationary status and groundwater extraction reporting with associated fees. To date, county staff have worked to support local entities who are interested in groundwater management. SGMA authorizes the county to accept GSA responsibility for unmanaged areas. Staff recommends that your board authorize staff to set a public hearing on April 11th. The slide actually says March 21st, but we've been told that April 11th is the new date. So authorize staff to set a public hearing on April 11th to accept presumed GSA management responsibility for any unmanaged areas within Sacramento County on or after June 30th, 2017. The county will withdraw or amend its application if another eligible entity submits to be the GSA within the unmanaged area. And the County Board of Supervisors will act as interim governance body until a different governance body has been identified and established. This proposal will allow staff to move forward to provide coverage for the county's unmanaged areas while still allowing other interested and eligible entities to submit to become GSAs. So the benefits of the proposed action will be, we'll be able to avoid state intervention in our unmanaged areas. We'll be able to avoid state mandated extraction reporting and associated fees, which are significant. And it will allow additional time for eligible entities who are not currently prepared to form GSAs and ultimately take over governance. I'd like to now transition to funding options for groundwater management in the county. In December, your board requested information about possible sources of funding for SGMA activities. Compliance with SGMA will be expensive. To provide context, currently SCGA and SGA spend roughly $600,000 annually on groundwater management activities for their respective basins. Additionally, SGA anticipates that the development of the GSP for the North American subbasin could cost as much as $1 to $1.5 million. So funding for groundwater management will be one of the greatest challenges for GSAs. While SGMA provides GSAs with the authority to implement funding mechanisms, fee programs take time to develop and implement. Today we're talking about two interim funding options currently identified to supplement local funds in the implementation of SGMA. So Prop 1 was passed by the state of California in 2014 and includes money to support groundwater management planning efforts. This money can be used to develop GSPs, and Prop 1 requires a 50% cost share, which may be problematic in some county subbasins. We anticipate that about $70 million will be available statewide, and grant awards could range from $500,000 to $1 million. The grant is expected to be released this summer. This will be an important source of funding for GSAs in the county and statewide. It will be important for GSAs to be in a position to apply for this funding. County staff is currently looking for a technical consultant to provide assistance to GSAs in the county as they apply for Prop 1 funding. The second source of funding that we've identified is Sacramento County Water Agency Zone 13. As you all know, Zone 13 is a benefit district that was created in 1987. This assessment is collected from properties throughout the unincorporated Sacramento County with the exception of Folsom, Ileton, Galt, and City of Sacramento. Approximately $2.2 million is collected annually, and this fund funds water supply drainage programs that benefit property owners in the zone. Zone 13 is used to fund the Water Forum, regional water supply and drainage studies, Delta activities, some county activities associated with the water fix, National Flood Insurance Program, and floodplain grant programs. While Zone 13 isn't an endless supply of funding, it should be considered as a viable funding source to supplement GSP development activities. Zone 13 historically has funded groundwater activities in Sacramento County and currently funds agricultural and ag-res and conservation landowner participation in SCGA. Suggested uses for Zone 13, technical studies and data analysis in support of GSP development, can provide a local match for Proposition 1 state grant fund programs, and it can also support startup for county unmanaged areas. Given the limitations of Zone 13 and the high estimated cost of SGMA compliance, it's important to emphasize that this is not a long-term funding option for groundwater management activities The county may have a role in supporting the development of funding programs in the future for GSAs in the county.
Could I just ask a question, Carrie, back to the previous slide about serving as a local match for Proposition 1 state grant programs, but it seemed to me it could serve as a local match for pilot programs that, you know, some of the local agencies want to do. It doesn't have to, I mean, I could see it concurrently that if you have, you know, Irrigation District A or Resource Conservation District B or Reclamation District C, whatever it is, that they have, you know, some funding that's local landowner, may not have any state connectivity at all, but we could be the local match to assist with that, or some sort of a partnering arrangement.
Absolutely.
So again, I would expand upon being a match. It's not, you can work both ways. You know, obviously the Zone 13 could be a key piece of that.
Sure.
But I don't see that it necessarily has to have state involvement in it.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you for the clarification. So what's next? If your board takes the recommended action today, staff would set up a public hearing for April 11th, at which time you would consider accepting presumed GSA management responsibility for any unmanaged area within Sacramento County on or after June 30th, 2017. If at that hearing your board agrees to accept responsibility for unmanaged areas, staff will submit the county GSA application well in advance of the June 30th, 2017 deadline. It will be critical, moving forward, it will be critical for GSAs in each subbasin to work together to develop a common vision for the groundwater sustainability plan. State DWR has strongly encouraged subbasins to work together on one GSP. Over the next several months, it will be important to work with GSAs in Sacramento County to help develop scopes of work for GSP development, which will help support Prop 1 grant applications. Again, grant application assistance will be available through the county's groundwater technical assistance contract, which will be funded through Zone 13.
Just ask you one other question then on this, because I know you initially anticipated with the March 21st date.
Right.
You talk about the 90 days to get some sort of determination by the state that the GSA is certified or whatever it is.
Right, to become exclusive. That's a good question. We received notification from the state just in this last week that the county process to become the default GSA is different than the process that other entities will go through.
So that squeeze isn't as tight as you were.
Exactly.
Okay.
We don't have to go through the 90-day process that others have to go through.
All right, very good. Thanks, Carrie.
Mm-hmm. That's all I've got. I'm happy to answer any other questions that you might have.
Okay. Any questions from board members? All right. Well, thank you, Carrie. And we have one speaker on this. And I know you continue to do work in the community. And like I said, we'll be having a community forum to invite folks to talk about some of the unmanaged areas and some of the alternatives you've outlined here today. So we certainly look forward to that in the weeks to come. So, Hans-Peter Walter, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. Hans-Peter Walter, Chronic Moskowitz, Tiedemann, and Gerard, representing Slough House Resource Conservation District. I really want to commend the county's effort and the board's increased involvement in SGMA implementation, and it's going to be necessary for the next several years. Many of you have seen me before up here, so I'm trying to stick to 3 minutes today because there's not much controversy. We support your efforts. Slough House supports your efforts. Especially the Cosumnes Subbasin does have these so-called unmanaged white areas. County staff, Slough House, and other potential GSAs have been active through that water forum and other facilitation processes, so that's coming together. We really appreciate that, and we support the staff recommendation that you move forward to ensure that the state does not come in and intervene in groundwater management anywhere in Sacramento County. So the county is a valuable backstop. We also support the continued investigation into funding options, including Zone 13. That's an issue particularly, I think, in the Cosumnes Subbasin, which is a little is definitely more rural and has fewer established funding mechanisms and established agencies, unlike the South American basin, which has the Sacramento Central Groundwater Authority, JPA, and the North American that has another JPA who have been operating and have all that figured out to a larger extent than the Cosumnes does. So we encourage and look forward to participating and exploring funding options and support and leadership from the county on that. The last thing I wanted to mention, because it was unfortunate, is the lawsuit that Slough House Resource Conservation District filed against the Sacramento Central Groundwater Authority. That's a lawsuit that challenged the adequacy and included various claims, including a CEQA claim against the alternative plan that was submitted at the beginning of the year by Sacramento Central Groundwater Authority. Now, in December, I spoke to you about it, and the bottom line is that Slough House perceives that there are many inadequacies, and what it really would do would be to do an end run around the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act and set in place or in stone old management procedures and assumptions, and really not invoke and trigger the main new provisions of SGMA that were enacted by the legislature. We favor a more coordinated, full SGMA process, which includes preparation of new groundwater sustainability plans in the South American and the Cosumnes Subbasin. And the only thing I wanted to provide to the board is that the public comment period for that alternative plan is pending. It was submitted. There was a final action taken by the Sacramento Central Groundwater Authority. They approved it and submitted it to the California Department of Water Resources. Public comments are due by April 1st, and there have been 2 significant public comments submitted. I wanted to just provide those to you. One is from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, the state trustee agency over Fish and Wildlife Resources. The other is on letterhead from Trout Unlimited, but includes an environmental coalition called the Cosumnes Coalition, which is a grouping of several environmental organizations. Both of them are very critical of the alternative plan and echo the same kinds of concerns that the Slough House lawsuit does. And in fact, the State Department of Fish and Wildlife says the development of a GSP that meets all of their criteria is required. The South American alternative does not comply with the objectives of SGMA and does not meet the criteria set forth in certain SGMA regulations. So I have copies for you all. I didn't know if you'd already become aware of that, but I guess I wanted to share these because this lawsuit, although we're trying to settle it and are hopeful, continues to kind of perhaps be a significant thorn in the side of SGMA implementation in the basin, and Slough House would like to resolve that. It's the JPA of which the county is a member, but we encourage, to the extent the county has any influence, to really support the Sacramento Central Groundwater Authority in trying to resolve this lawsuit. We really don't think there's much merit to the alternative plan, and we would hate to have resources and focus that should be being devoted to the local agencies getting together and resolving some of these other issues wasted on a lawsuit that we feel we were forced into filing. Okay. And I'll give the copies of this letter to your clerk. Thank you.
Thanks, Hans-Peter. Yeah, I know that I had reached out to Member Garms of the RCD board, and he I think talked to Amanda, and she forwarded a copy of those comments to me earlier today. I had a chance to circulate them to board members, so I'm glad you brought them. So she did indicate that she wouldn't be here today, and obviously you're here on other behalf, but that these 2 letters, and so we'll make sure we get those circulated with staff, and thanks for the commentary today. Very good. Thanks so much. Okay. Anyone else? I see no one else in the chambers. Michael, Carrie, anything else?
No, that's it.
So we'll see you back here April 11th, and that will be a noticed hearing then to all the parties that we're aware of anyway. I guess.
Right. So yeah, that's the request today is to have us have that date before our public hearing. So that would be properly noticed.
Okay, we need to do some agenda management. I've been talking to you, Mr. Gill, and April 11th is stacking up. Today kind of unraveled a little bit here, but we've got April 11th is going to look to be a pretty full day. So
we're working on that.
Yeah, because this matter at that point, it may or may not be well attended. I don't know if it'll be controversial, but it will be opportunity for, in those unmanaged areas, we're doing outreach, and we'll have some idea better in a couple of weeks when we do, community meeting. But I think it'll be a little more less predictable about who might attend. So need to be cognizant of that. So. All right, I would move the staff recommendation today to proceed forward and set the public hearing for April 11, 2017. What time is that going to be?
Second.
Right now, we have it scheduled for 3:15, but we're still working out the calendar for that. It's at least set to the date.
Okay, we're just setting the date.
But it'll be included in the notice when Mr. Peterson sends that out.
All right, very good. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Unanimous vote.
Good. All right, thank you very much. Okay, we do have, I know, one adjournment, but I'll just, anything else flow on your?
I don't have any notes.
Okay, and then I'll turn to Mr. Gill, and then supervisors, and we have an adjournment, so.
None today, sir.
Nothing, okay. All right, then Ms. Peters, we have an adjournment.
Thank you. I'd like the board to adjourn today in memory of Lucas Shalou. For the urbanized suburbs of the county, CHP officers function as our traffic cops, and last week, an 8-year veteran of the CHP, Officer Lucas Shalou, lost his life in the line of duty. He began his career with the CHP after graduating from West Sacramento Academy in May 2009. The 31-year-old officer was working in South Sacramento at the time of his death. He was the son of retired CHP Captain Chuck Shalou, who formerly commanded the North Sacramento CHP office that covers the area of Sacramento County north of the American River. Before joining CHP, Lucas served 5 years in the Army, attaining the rank of sergeant. He's survived by his wife, 2 young children, in addition to a sister, who's also a CHP officer, and his father. Every day we value the safety and security provided to us by the California Highway Patrol, and while we may often appear to take that for granted, a tragic loss like this reminds us how much we recognize and honor the courage and sacrifice of officers like Lucas Shalou.
Very well said. Any other comments? Thank you, Supervisor Peters. We do want to extend our condolences to the entire Shalou family, obviously dedicated to law enforcement generationally, and put their lives on the line each and every day. And again, this community grieves as well with the family for the tremendous loss of Officer Lucas Shalou. So with that being said, unless there's anything else coming before this board, we will honor in memory of Officer Lucas Shalou.